This is WAW. What a week.
What a week. PoliTricks.
Eta, welcome to another episode of WOW What a Week. Hashtag PoliTricks with Tato and Botsang. Coming to you live from Rockets Media. Check out rocketslife.tv. If you want to book this incredible studio space, we're at Rockets Bryanston. This is our brand new home. Botsang.
Yes, Brother Fresh, very nice place. I actually like it.
Hey,
very nice, man. I'm actually very impressed. It looks nice. We look richer now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
How was your week? How's your week been?
Look, it has been easy.
Yeah.
It started with a storm. There's a storm brewing at work.
Okay.
And I like it. You know, it's...
So these people have had you unemployed for 2 years now?
Last week, Thursday, Fresh, it was exactly 2 years I'm sitting at home. And
Yeah.
only on Monday, what I'm sitting at home for came out with a forensic report. Now I can talk about it. You understand?
Oh, wow.
It's what I allege they are doing, and they kept me home. There was an investigation and activated by the GNU, you know,
Okay.
the new deputy minister.
Yes.
And the investigative report, preliminary one, is out. And some of the things that I alleged have been found by independent investigators to be true. But, you know, let's wait for this to roll. Let's see how it unfolds. But that's how my week started. And I said to them, I never lie and accuse people of maladministration or corruption when I don't have facts.
Absolutely.
And this report came out before even the investigators consulted me or
Wow.
interviewed me. Imagine if they are going to sit down with me and I give evidence or you know, testimony.
So the long and the short of it is, because you are not a team player,
Yeah.
you then some charges were trumped up.
You had to trump charges, which they changed 8 times. You know, they changed my charges 8 times.
Wow.
In the middle of a hearing,
Yeah.
until they come with absolute nonsense to say I co-published my biography and I didn't declare I've got a company.
Yeah.
But, you know, the lower court found me not guilty. They just don't want me to go back to work. But, you know, the what do they call it? The long arm of the law. It takes time. The wheels are turning slow. But eventually it
When
will
they turn,
happen.
they turn.
When they turn, they turn. And I
Absolutely.
think my November month started very well. It's so funny that one of the persons who were responsible for me being unemployed was mentioned in the report,
Yo.
and she resigned with immediate effect. I approached the board and the minister, and I said, we are not letting that person go.
Yes.
We whether you resign or you run away, we must go hunt you and you must come and account. That's how the public service should work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yo. Yeah, because often people resign thinking, then I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be held accountable anymore.
I
and that's
think
rubbish.
it was allowed too much in the public service.
Yes.
People waste state resources. They go and they commit, you know, maladministration or crimes.
Yes.
Within the workspace. They destroy other colleagues. Then they run away, and the state leaves them.
And now for me, that's actually the biggest problem with the whole situation that happens within the public service.
Yeah.
That people's lives are irreparably ruined.
Yes.
And
yes.
people just move on
People's
with their own
lives are
lives.
destroyed, and they continue as if nothing happened. And the
It's
state
criminal.
aid is
It's
criminal.
criminal.
For me, this is a criminal activity, and this is what I said at the beginning of the week to the chairperson of the board, the deputy minister and the minister. I said, these are criminal activities because these people have been using state resources, not only money, even state time, even state offices, understand, the positions that the state has allocated to them to ruin and destroy people's life, and they get away with it.
I'd even go as far as saying, if we find that you were using state resources and legal resources to go after someone you had no business going after, simply because you want to ruin their life, or kick them out of the system, you should pay for those legal fees.
Exactly, but
The
let
legal
me tell you,
costs.
I've seen quite a number of court cases, labor court cases. One of the famous one is UNISA,
Yeah.
and in some government departments, one it was Department of Home Affairs, another one was Human Settlements, where the court ruled that those who were responsible for those kind of practices and wastage of state resources on labor matters or legal matters,
Yes.
they must pay from their pockets. But let me tell you what I've done with my case. My plea to the labor court is that those who were responsible, it's on my pleading document, must be held accountable in their personal capacity. They
Yes.
must not use the state money to pay for this labor process because they were warned, they knew,
Yes.
and they were told they are wrong. And they continue. You know why? Because they got state money, taxpayers' money. What I've been paying from my pocket.
Absolutely.
Whereas is most of the time I've been representing myself in court. Now you
I love how you learnt the system because at some stage you had to represent yourself.
well, fresh almost all when you don't have an income and you run out of resources, that's what they
Yes.
do. They squeeze you the resources
Yes.
out.
And that's precisely what it is.
Yeah.
That they'll prolong the process, hoping that you'll be so dry, you'll walk away.
You'll walk away. No, with me, they had the wrong one. I never walk away from a battlefield. Once you're in the battlefield, you fight
Yeah.
until the bitter. And I told them, I wrote to them to say, I am not going to give up on this. I'll fight to the ultimate end, especially when you know you are not wrong. I mean, a lower court like the CCMA says this person was not even supposed to come here.
Yes.
You were not even supposed to charge that person. And then they go and they spend. And I told them, you have spent over 5 million trying to chase me away. 5 million rands. They're denying. I've got paper trail of how they've spent 5 million rands. Not even what they owe me,
Yes.
what they've spent. And they're denying. And I said, let's meet in front. When it goes to a push, if the minister and the deputy minister are not going to act, and this is not a threat, I'll go to parliament. I'll go and table it. Because as a citizen, people don't know fresh. You can go to parliament and ask for, even if you are not an MP or a politician, and say you want to bring a certain matter to the attention of the parliamentary committee.
Yes, sir.
And I will do that. But for now, I'm letting the process, to, even if it's slow, to take its course.
Absolutely.
So that's how my week started.
Speaking of rights and the abuse of people and their rights, one of the big debates has been the rights and privileges of asylum seekers.
Yes.
And we briefly touched on it, I think last week and possibly the week before.
And the week before, yeah.
Because your general public would not know about Section 22 permit or your Section 24 permits, for instance. What are the rights and privileges of asylum seekers and refugees?
Well, Fresh, and I'm glad you are raising this up, but for the benefit of the viewers and followers, remember this came as a result of the president proclamation on the 21 days for people to register their spaza shops.
Yes.
You know, spazas, for those who are not South Africans, it's informal traders.
Absolutely.
And all that. But there was a call out then from many South Africans, some are even politicians, which is embarrassing that a political office bearer does not know the rules of the country, but normal persons on the street, for example, in Soweto and in the Western Cape, Operation Dudula, they were saying, no, South Africans must be given priority towards licensing or formalizing the spaza shops or informal tuck shops. But then Home Affairs released, a media sheet that I think it's aiding the situation. In my opinion, it's aiding. This is something that politicians and business people should have known, that in terms of the constitution and that section 22 and section 24 of asylum seekers and what you call the others and
So it's asylum seeker visa and then the refugee visa.
the refugee visas, yes,
sir.
the refugee visas. They are based on not only the immigration laws, they're based on section 2 of the constitution, the Bill of Rights, to say. And this emanates from the Freedom Charter. I always tell people, the Freedom Charter informed the Constitution, which was adopted in 1996, and all other laws of the country are subject to that Constitution. Immigration Act is subject to that Constitution. But what it says, it's simply saying, whether you are an asylum seeker or refugee in South Africa, first of all, if you have followed process, you are here legally.
Yes.
And once you are in the country legally, you have all the rights that an ordinary South African have. You can trade, you can run business.
In fact, refugees can even get a passport.
Yes.
And an identity
And an
document.
identity, yeah.
And most people won't know that.
What do they call them? They can get a non-citizen ID document.
Yes.
Understand? Those are refugees who have been accepted. For whatever reason, they are refugees to South Africa. Asylum seekers, they will get residence permits to be in the country. But once they are with the residence permit or non-citizen resident ID. They are allowed to conduct any informal business or any business they wish to conduct in the country. It is not Botsang and Tato saying it, and it is what the Constitution makes provision for, and it's what the Immigration Act makes provision for that Section 22 refugee people and Section 24 which are asylum seekers, or either way.
And like Botsang and Tato have always said, unfortunately, some of these things, whether you agree with them or not, whether you like them or not, that's what the law is. And until you lobby for it to change, it's what it is.
Exactly. And at times when Julius Malema and the EFF spoke against Patriotic Alliance of Gayton McKenzie regarding foreign nationals in South Africa, I think the EFF was a step ahead.
Sure.
And people say they lost the elections because they wanted illegal foreigners to come here. That's not what the EFF was saying, and I will not defend them. They were simply saying your constitution and your laws makes provision for that.
Sure.
Let us respect the law. And I've always said, if people are not happy with the law, like now I can see that people are not happy with the law, what they should be doing is to, as you say, lobby your political party. Lobby your political party to can change the laws of the country, can suit. If the majority of the people feels our laws are too nice to foreign nationals, then they should push their constituencies and their political representatives to go and amend and change those laws. And again, people are saying courts, for example, courts are always favoring illegal foreigners. Foreigners can march and protest in South Africa. We can march and protest because the Constitution allows it. But they are also now be seen as residents of this country. So they are allowed to protest the same way as us. And courts, I don't think, are in favor of foreign nationals. Courts are there to apply the law. Courts are there to apply the law. So that's why all these NGOs and representatives of foreign nationals in South Africa, they run to courts to say, can you tell the Minister of Police or of Home Affairs or the residents of South Africa, citizens of South Africa, that can they leave us alone to conduct our business here? I'm talking about legal business. I'm not talking about illegal business and illegal foreigners. Can they leave us alone and in peace? Because they made that provision. And fresh people don't like me for saying, we made these laws. We created this environment. We welcomed these people. We have been living with them in our backyards and everywhere. Why now, when we are no longer happy with them, we don't reverse that process legally because we brought them in legally? And me and you, we are only talking about people who are in South Africa legally.
Do you think maybe the way the legislation was written maybe had not anticipated that the country, the resources, and everything else would be so overrun, and that some people's asylum would expire? So, for instance, I mean, you're only allowed to, I think, extend asylum seeker visa for a period of 6 to 12 months.
6 to 12 months, yes.
And some people eventually don't go back to renew it.
Yeah.
Your refugee visa is valid for 4 years.
For 4 years, yes.
And then you must renew it again.
Yes.
And, for instance, there are people who argue that there are Zimbabweans here who are asylum seekers, but at Christmas they go home. Yeah. And you're still an asylum seeker. If you've run away from home saying you're fearing persecution, but Christmas you're home.
Yeah. You'll be back in January after New Year festivities. Look.
Like who should be managing that? Who should be verifying that vele you're being persecuted at home?
Fresh, it's a collective, and I worked in the consular field for over 10 years. It's a collective. There's a responsibility primarily of Home Affairs.
Yes, sir.
With in other countries, for example, in the US, and me and you the other day we spoke about how Donald Trump wants to reintroduce that practice. If you have a residence or visitor's visa or permit, they will have immigration knowing where you are, what you are doing, and monitoring you. We don't have those resources because of the volume and the number of foreign nationals who are in South Africa. Home Affairs is trained. The government does not have the resources to can have Home Affairs immigration inspectors or immigration police to go to every house where Tato said he's staying there to monitor if you are still staying there. And that's the first part. The second part is there's a responsibility of our intelligence forces who are supposed to know people of they call them a special interests to say, is that person still in the country? And I'll use the issue of Donovan Krajevic. If you remember the Krajevic, the Donovan, the guy from...
Or Krejcer.
Yes, Krejcer, whatever, yes.
Radovan Krejcer.
Yes.
You know I met Radovan Krejcer at H2O.
Where's H2O?
H2O is a massive festival in Boksburg.
H2O is a water for me.
And he invited me to his table for a shot.
Jesus.
And it was surreal having a shot with Radovan Krejcer. and then one bell another time.
Yeah.
He's like, he's having a party on a boat, Koval. And he wants me to come and DJ.
Oh, that's nice.
And what do you mean that's nice?
That's nice.
So I'm
You're
like,
doing your job.
and I'm like, ish, my guy, now I'll be out of town. So he's like, okay, could I maybe arrange some mixes for him? So his son came to pick up some mixes from me.
You're a businessman. You're doing your, and you probably didn't know at that time.
No, already there was weird.
Oh, there was already stories out, yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's just weird how small the world is.
But I was explaining that person, I know that he was a person of special interest to me in South Africa. That's where intelligence comes. But there's also responsibility of DERCO. Because if people come to South Africa because let's say there's a war or persecution in a country, DERCO will be the first to know.
Yes.
Our High Commission or embassies or missions abroad will report to say, yes, there's crisis like there is crisis in Mozambique now. So we may see people being persecuted and they run to South Africa. DERCO will know. But the South African Police Service as well, they have a responsibility to check if those people are in the country and conducting themselves in a manner that is acceptable by the country. So those are some of the role players but we don't have the resources. Our police can't even protect us against crime. They can't even protect themselves. The police stations are guarded by security companies.
There's no capacity.
There's no capacity.
But also, I think a lot of it is based on to a certain level, take it that you are a law-abiding person coming into the country. And if you say you're here for 3 months,
you leave after 3 months, yeah.
And I think generally that's what's expected of you.
Yeah, fresh,
in a normal
society, but
yes.
the world has become abnormal, especially when people are not here because of wars or persecution. Most of the time, people are in this country for economic reasons. And why would you want to leave the land of, honey and milk and go to a country like Mozambique, Somalia, where they're suffering, where, you understand, or Zimbabwe in this instance.
And Europe doesn't want us.
And Europe doesn't want them. So let's look at what Mandela land is the best land. You ask a question. There was no foresight. You were asking if we made our laws soft. Yes, our laws, whether it's immigration or domestic laws, they are very soft. And I think the mistake that happened, well, some people say it's not a mistake, it is because of where we come from, the apartheid era.
Sure.
Therefore, in writing our laws, they had to write them in such a way that we don't want to be reminded anything that of the military apartheid state. But I think we compromise too much.
And a lot of people who argue that surely then rather have refugee camps like other nations do. For instance, I mean, there are MK operatives that were at Dukwi refugee camp in Botswana, for argument's sake. And people are arguing that why don't you just have refugee camps? And those themselves become admin. And if you look at the influx of people, how big a camp
can be, yes,
would you have?
Well, you see,
because now you must feed these people.
Yes, health services and
now,
all that.
And now you're deciding, do we feed every refugee or do we say to them, come in and eke out a living nyana, as long as it's legal?
As long as it's legal. I think the model that South Africa adopted, personally, I think it was a good model.
Sure.
To say if people are here legally and they conduct themselves well, they work or they render any service within the legal parameters,
sure,
let them rather do that and pay for their services. But that's not where the challenge is, not the legal people, the illegal people.
The problem is the people who are jumping the fence.
Who are jumping the fence, who are here to get services of our health services are strained and we can't cope with it.
And also the people who are not bothering to renew because they know they can get away with it.
Exactly, but also if you know that nobody's going to police you, why would you bother? Understand? The only, and I've said it before on this platform, the only thing that happens with, and the police have said it this week, like with the illegal miners, the so-called illegal miners, if he's a foreigner, you deport.
Sure.
There's no prosecution because our prisons are full.
Sure.
The cost of prosecuting and keeping that person while
it's easier to eject you.
It's easier to eject you out of the country, and then it has now also become easier for them to come back because of corruption and what people are calling porous borders. But I've been against our borders being called porous. Because I know the challenges within our border, and I know what is happening in a border environment. For example, I said something on this platform last week about it is us causing a problem because it is the policeman who's taking the bribe, it is the border official who's taking the bribe, it is an immigration official who takes the bribe, and everybody, that whole value chain. It's South Africans who are committing that crime. It's us. It's not foreigners. Foreigners know that you can give fresh 200 rands. This week, policemen and border guards were arrested at Maseru Bridge for taking 200 rand bribe from Basotho who were coming to South Africa. You understand? And I saw people say,
or those who want to go back home, but they don't have papers.
Well, these ones were actually even coming back.
Yeah.
And I heard people saying 200 rand to lose your job. It's not 200 rand because if 20 are passing and you collect 200 rands times 20, it's not. You understand? It's more than what a policeman earns per month.
And if you think about it, you know, there's various departments where the waiting period to get anything done is so long, but you know that if you faganyana something,
it will move
your
fast.
Application goes to the front of the queue. You can't help but ask yourself, is there a deliberate slowing down of certain services because there's a parallel economy
that's running, or
that's
administration
running,
that's running on the side?
That's running on the side that I will fast track for you, but you must sort me out.
Fresh, corruption is very bad. Corruption is evil. It's very bad, and people do not understand the extent to which corruption goes. That's
it's a
why
whole economy.
You
It's
are
a whole
talking
economy.
about exactly the whole economy, and mostly it's influenced, one, by greed.
Yes.
Because once you are employed and you are having a salary, there's no need for you to be greed. To look for more. But there's socio-economic ills as well, where unemployed people will find an opportunity in aiding or even hoarding and hiding illegal foreigners.
Sure.
Because it's an economic opportunity for them. They get something out of these people. If we don't deal with corruption in the public service and socio-economic ills in the country, trust me, we can scream and tumble. If you look at the whole of Latin America, Mexico, Venezuela, the reason there's so much crime in those countries for years, they are failing to deal with hijackings, they're failing to kidnappings and drug trafficking. It is because it is feeding and funding what government was supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Understand? And we have to control the corruption process within the public service. And we must start seeing prosecutions and jailing, not just take people to court and it ends there. You understand? We should start seeing people serving serious jail sentences for acts of corruption and maladministration. Now we forget about some of these cases because it takes almost 5 years to can run one case in courts.
Sure.
So again, delayed justice, it makes the people to say, but the government is not helping us, the government is not serious.
Question, because you've worked in the diplomatic corps, you've also worked with the border authority. We live in a world where technology is so insane that if it is used properly, it can actually make our life so much easier. Let me give you an example. So most countries, when you visit, they'll ask you for a contact number. They could even ask you for an email.
Yeah.
Why is it not possible for the system that has allowed you into whatever country, it doesn't even have to be here. I've gone to France and my visa is 3 months old. And if on the system I have not left France, what stops the system from generating an email or an SMS to say, in a week, your stay will have expired? Either extend it or make your way back home.
Yeah.
How do we not have systems like that when we are sending rockets to Mars? But we don't have a simple system that can actually monitor that, okay, Botsang is still in the country.
Yeah.
But his stay expires in 3 weeks. We send him an SMS, we send him an email.
Yeah, there'll be an alert. It's
An alert just
system.
an alert.
It's an
that
alert system, yeah.
Maybe you're having too much of a good time, but we just need you to know that in 3 weeks you must go back home.
Let me tell you, Fresh, those systems are there. Is the application of those systems, the maintenance, the upgrade of those systems. Because let me tell you, if we had something like that, what it will do.
Sure.
it will also deter people to say I'm being monitored. Or psychologically, when you have given a number, a contact number, because normally when you apply for a
and
visa,
even when you give a number, the system should be able to verify the number. That the number
because
exists.
numbers are being recut. You understand? I know tourists who come here, they buy SIM cards at the airport, it gets recut at the airport.
Bruh, if the system is that airtight, and it's something that you do in the back end of the software.
Exactly.
That the number you gave us, we're going to check who is it recut to.
Exactly.
Because that person then is your host in the country, and if you don't leave the country, we're going to go for that person.
I was about to say, when you apply for South African visas or visitors permits or whatever at South African missions abroad, one of the things you do is that whom are you visiting or which company are you going to?
Exactly.
The contact number. If it's a company, one, the HR executive, the email and the contact number. These alerts must be going to those people. If it's private people for visas, because for example, with Zimbabwe, let me use Zimbabwe as an example.
Yeah.
You get a visitor's visa at the airport. The immigration law of the country allows up to 90 days, which is 3 months.
Yeah.
But because of the challenges that we are having with Zimbabweans coming to South Africa, the Department of Home Affairs a few years ago, they took a decision that it's the discretion of the immigration official not to give 90 days or to give 90 days. So you can come in there like we're giving you 2 weeks because you are saying you are here for shopping. Understand? So once those alerts are activated, and coincidentally during this week I heard the Minister of Leon Schreiber of Home Affairs complaining that CETA is tying their one arm at the back. That's why they can't roll out some of the electronic services that they are intended to. He's blaming CETA. He was answering to a question from MKP in Parliament, and he's blaming CETA. But I don't think it's a CETA problem. I think it's the red tape in government whereby when we want to implement stuff, you have to follow certain protocols. But Fresh, in concluding this matter, let me tell you another thing politically about this whole thing. Once a system benefits political office bearers or business people, they will not challenge it.
Yeah.
We can make noise as citizens, but capital in South Africa benefits from illegal foreigners because it's cheap labor. Understand? It works for them. They don't pay taxes. They don't pay UIF. They don't pay anything. So that's why they are quiet, and it benefits them. Even these laws, when you look at these laws, I've said it before. When our immigration laws were made initially, they were made to accommodate those Europeans who were living in South Africa during apartheid, and business people like the so-called investors who were living in South Africa, for them not to leave their country or to be protected while they are in South Africa. Those who were carrying dual passports, like the British South Africa passport, these laws were made for them to accommodate them, that people could move between Europe and South Africa as they wished. And I said, but then there was an oversight to say, but all other nations that are friends of South Africa, the so-called the former frontline states, which is SADC states today, they are also having the same privileges. And you think that people from SADC states must not take advantage when they need South Africa more than Europeans? You understand? That was an oversight, and it's going to be very difficult today to can correct that process. What is South Africa going to go and say to SADC and to AU and to the UN to say, we are changing our constitution? All we need to do is to amend our constitution. But let me tell you, that will not happen. Not in the next 2 years. I'll tell you why. If we amend the constitution to challenge that human rights element or Bill of Rights, you know what the public is going to say? So it is possible to amend the constitution so easy. Why don't they amend it for other things like the land question?
But it's been possible to amend the constitution.
It's very, very possible.
But even within what the constitution looks like right now, the land issue could still be addressed.
Fresh.
It's just that there is no political will.
People must go and read the book of Justice Dikgang Moseneke, what he said and wrote after he left office. About this thing of Section 25, what was going around the corner. People are wasting time. There's constitutional provision that the state must distribute the land to the people.
Absolutely.
And the state is failing to do that. Why is nobody invoking that part of the constitution as advised by the retired Justice Moseneke?
Maybe they fear the so-called markets.
Markets will tremble if land gets redistributed to the people.
In fact, speaking of the Bill of Rights, the other day I was at Pick and Pay at Jackal Creek. It's literally just by Cosmo.
Okay.
And I will assume they're Zimbabwean because they were speaking about the special dispensation
Yes,
visa.
there's Zimbabwe special dispensation.
And it's two ladies. Yeah, two ladies in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And the one was asking, how far are you with your application to formalize your stay in the country?
Yes.
And the other one spoke about how the NGOs are fighting for us, so
Yes.
I'm chilling.
I'm chilled. Yeah. There's NGOs fighting
And I was
for
like,
us.
what?
No, but I've got guys who work in restaurants that I know and close
Yeah.
to, and they're Zimbabweans. I told you the other day, one came to me and said to me, I know you advised me to go, because I always tell them, go and do the right thing, go and apply.
Just formalize your stay.
Formalize your
Formalize
stay.
your stay.
And he said, I did, and while I was in the middle of it, NGOs won a case for us in court.
Yeah.
So I'm continuing with my life here. That's why Home Affairs keeps on extending and extending and extending. I mean, Minister Motsoaledi served almost a full term at Home Affairs. He even left that office back to health, trying to correct and amend and change the laws. And he failed dismally, not because he was not doing his job,
Sure.
because we have given the power to change the laws of this country to politicians, to MPs, and they're not willing to do that. And you must ask yourself, why would not 400 MPs, you just need 201 of them
Yeah.
to pass the law? When it suits them, they vote for unnecessary, stupid things. But when it's things that are supposed to benefit the country and protect the country,
Yeah.
Fresh, if you can't protect your own citizens, then you are a failed state. Safety, security, and social ills. And then you are a failed state. And we are sitting with 400 MPs that are, I don't know whether they are not hearing the people. The other day, you remember the current premier of Limpopo, Poppy Ramathuba, when she was the MEC
for health.
for health in Limpopo. You remember that video that went down? She was going to hospital asking
the Zimbabwean woman,
why are you coming to give health? And I was sitting there
they're
saying
just
to myself,
draining our resources.
I was saying to myself, this woman is the member of the ANC, NEC, that makes policies that gets presented in parliament to can change that law. Why do you go and scream at somebody laying on a bed when that person is exercising their rights?
You've allowed it to happen. Now you're blaming them for taking advantage of what you've allowed.
You have made the law, you have allowed it. Now because the system is constrained, you want to blame the benefactor. I will not even blink if I benefit from something for free. You understand? And that's the challenge we are sitting with. We are barking at the wrong tree.
Sure.
We are lawmakers, we are citizens of this country. Imagine, South Africans never even ask for simple things that are allowed in the Constitution, like a referendum. We can go on a referendum. No, even these NGOs that are so-called pro-blacks or pro-natives in South Africa, none of them has said, let's go on a referendum to force politicians to change the laws. Nobody's doing that. We are not exercising our rights. But when foreign nationals exercise their rights, it's their right. We gave them that right. And again, we should also put a serious disclaimer to say we are talking about, foreign nationals who are legal in South Africa and not illegal immigrants. But again, the Constitution says even the illegal ones, even those who are illegal here, they're still protected by the Bill of Rights. Even those who are illegal. And I always make an example of my brother Collins Letswalo at the Road Accident Fund. He's fighting a lone battle to an extent that he's even fighting with people from his own political party that had deployed him, but he's a public servant, he's a civil servant. Collins is saying no country in the world, Fresh, and this again what South Africans, we spoke about this before. No country in the world, we are the only country in the entire universe that allows somebody who is illegal in this country to can claim from the Road Accident Fund, which has 300 billion goes to that state agency every month. An illegal person, when you knock that person with a car on the road,
it doesn't make sense.
It makes sense. Somebody benefits from there. It doesn't make sense to me and you.
I mean, the fact that I can't travel to, especially off the African continent, I can't travel to any country without proving that I've got medical insurance.
Yes.
Because they don't want me to burden their infrastructure, the services, the healthcare. They won't even let you in if you don't have insurance.
Forget, you are even going far outside Africa. Mozambique, I tell people next door, I can't travel to Mozambique without a medical insurance. You can't. You won't be allowed. You must provide, even if you come with a car insurance, a vehicle itself. Let's say you are driving to Maputo. You need a medical insurance and you need a car insurance that is explicitly stating that you are covering third parties in Mozambique. They call it a third party insurance. You need to provide that. Even if they stop in the middle, they see a South African registration and they stop in the middle of their country.
And they love doing that, eh?
Yeah, we allow you to be here with nothing. You get injured. You can claim millions from the state. Understand? And there's a challenge we are faced with that. I mean, there's a civil servant called Collins Letsalet at RAF. This man is very educated, has been a civil servant for many years. He's saying to the state, our laws are wrong. How do you start even listening to an illegal person? But I understand why. Because the Constitution says it doesn't care whether you are illegal or not, you are a human being.
If you're a human being within the borders of this country,
if you are a human being,
you're entitled to your human rights, to some dignity.
Yes, you are entitled to dignity, you are entitled to human rights. I always say to people, imagine if somebody is here illegal, rapes a person, charged rapes a person, and while this person is running away from the police after raping a person in the country, gets knocked off by the vehicle and gets paralyzed, we are going to fund that person for his entire life. Even if he goes to prison, we'll have to provide wheelchair, medical services, and claim from road accident fund. It doesn't matter what was the person doing. But again, these are our laws, and we must live with it.
And if you don't like the laws,
change the laws.
Full stop.
Yeah.
The EFF have been painting this week red. MK Party is our biggest enemy, is what Julius Malema is saying. And the EFF are also saying that sparing Ramaphosa impeachment was unlawful.
Yes.
It's been a wild week with the EFF this week.
Yeah, and I think the commander-in-chief of the EFF, Juju Malema, is becoming himself. You know,
are you saying the real Juju?
The real Juju is coming out now. He has stood up.
Yeah.
One, we always know that he changes his mind. He can sleep saying something today, tomorrow he wakes up, he's saying something else. But you know, before even the Pala thing and sparing President Ramaphosa, at that press conference, something ugly, I don't know if you saw it happened.
What, correcting the spokesperson?
Yeah, but it was not even correcting. I think it was lambasting Leanne Matthys.
Leanne Matthys, yes.
Yes. I think he should have handled it differently, or call him to the side of the microphones.
So if your spokesperson is misrepresenting the party's position at a live press conference, how would you rather he have handled it? Is it the fact that he corrected her, or it's the how he corrected her?
It's the how. For me, it's the how. Correcting her, it was proper. And you know, that first of all, it shows that Julius is well vested with what is happening in his political party.
Sure.
Or the political party is leading, which is a good thing. That you can see what your subordinate or your colleague is doing wrong. It's a very good thing.
Sure.
But it's the how. Understand? It's, you know, the mics are there. This thing is live. There's nothing wrong in you, and that's where leadership and management skills come in.
Okay.
To ask for a pause and talk to that person on the side, instead of ridiculing that person in front of a live media. Understand? Pause for a moment, move away from the mic, talk to her on the side, or say, you have said this thing wrong, I'm going to correct it, or even tell her. What is the correct version for that person? She can come back and say, sincere apologies, correct themselves. Actually, the much more nicer way is to tell them the correct version, then they correct themselves. But we are not all diplomats and managers. Julius is not a manager, he's a politician. He goes and doing that. But I'm seeing a rebellion within the EFF.
You think so?
It may be small at the moment. I've been following social media, and look, I'm still in some groups of EFF people. I never delete WhatsApp groups of employers where I've been. I don't, because I am interested in what is happening there.
So I'm sure your phone is full of ex-girlfriends, ex-wives.
Wives and girlfriends and exes. I don't keep those. I block and delete those.
Ex-political groups.
Political groups, I keep them.
In fact, you must just have an ex-wives group.
I don't know. I must think about that, but I don't want stress. And I was seeing many people say, no, but the commander-in-chief is out of line. This EFF guy is saying that. And if Julius is not paying attention at the moment, he will sink the EFF. The EFF is not going to go down anytime soon, as other people are saying. But he must be careful of how he's treating his members, because they are starting to see other alternatives, or the side of him that his critics have been saying that he's bully, he's a dictator, he doesn't listen to other people. People have been saying that for years.
But has he been inconsistent? I think Juju's generally been consistent since youth league days.
But when you see, Fresh, when you love a person and respect a person, it goes up to a certain point. When it starts hitting at you, when it starts impacting at you, then you will come and say, no, but this is enough. I can't take this any longer. You understand? So
yeah, I love you, I respect you, but I can only take so much of
I can only take so much.
This kind of leadership.
Exactly. To some people, they reacted very quick. I mean, my friend Andile Mgutama was one of the first to go out. And the other thing about him also is, and a lot of people in South Africa lack that, respect is earned. You must earn respect, and it goes both ways, up and down. Once you disrespect those who are your subordinates or lower level to you, you can't expect them to respect you as well. Sir. And I think he is lacking that kind of leadership trait, because it's a trait, it's a leadership trait. And for him to stand up, 3 weeks ago, he was saying, or 2 months ago actually, he was saying, we are going to work with MKP. We are going to work as progressive forces in parliament, and we'll start doing things together. Now you go and you declare them enemy number one. When did it become enemy number one?
When they started taking your people?
No, again. When you say a political party is taking people from another political party, you are actually disrespecting those people. I'll tell you why. Are you saying they are incapable of thinking?
That they don't have agency?
That they also don't have a thinking capacity of saying, no, but I think my time is up at this political party, or I'm wrongly placed, I prefer to go somewhere. When employers advertise a post, and somebody from another company apply for that post, the other employer or the older can't hate this new one. So you are poaching my people.
It's still called poaching, regardless of how or why it happened.
Fresh poaching, it's when you go, when you approach, when you hunt those people.
But what are the chances that they were not hunted? Like, think about it. What are the chances they were not hunted?
I will say,
because why would they leave not knowing what is going to happen that side? There's no way. You check first what okay, the grass is greener because they water it, not because there's more poo.
Yes. But you see what you're saying? You're saying you check first. Yeah. You, as the person, even if you are being, checked, you still have the final decision to make, to say, I am leaving. But there are a lot of people who are leaving voluntarily.
It still takes two to tango.
It's politics. Where did EFF get its members from? I was there. I was in EFF recruit. Where did we get their members from? From everywhere. Why is he singling out MKP when the biggest loser, this is my view, the biggest loser of members to MKP is not EFF.
It's the ANC.
It's the ANC. Not because only they are the biggest organization, but EFF and what we call it, an ANC, when we speak of registered card holding members, they're almost at par. Yeah. Almost 1 million. The last time I checked, EFF was targeting 1 million. ANC had 1 million registered members. Understand? So with membership, they are at par. With followers and supporters or voters, the ANC may be bigger because of its history.
Sure.
But the biggest loser towards MKP is the ANC. And why wouldn't the MKP go and hunt anywhere? You are a hunter. You are in Serengeti. You are in the battlefield. You are hungry.
It's politics. It's not a playground.
Politics. So you must stop crying. He's not a cry baby naturally. He's a fighter. You don't call yourself a fighter for nothing. He's a fighter. Let him start behaving like a fighter. Let him go and do what he was doing before. Go into the same hunting space or different strategies to can get people away from ANC, MKP, and everywhere else. You can't be a cry baby when you are wearing a military beret and you are calling yourself a commander-in-chief. No. You must command your forces, not to go and just fight blindly. That's where the art of war comes in. You can't say MKP are the enemy. I'm telling you, he may be actually making people to say, if MKP is the enemy, let me go and check why is he the enemy. This is the same man who, just before elections, when they were having teen Nkandla, I don't know what was in that teen Nkandla, he was saying, MKP is progressive, even their policies with the EFF are the same. And I can tell you the EFF policies manifest, having been one of the people who were there when it was developed.
You were there, yes.
Yeah. And the MKP policies are the same. I actually know of a professor who co-wrote those two manifestos in his personal and not personal, in his professional capacity, because he's a policy developer.
Yes, sir.
And I said, after we put facts and ideas politically, he put them together. It was one person who wrote the final version, cleaning it up professionally, of MKP and EFF. So you say that, and after 2 months you stand up and say, but these people, they are our enemy. It doesn't work like that in politics. I mean, this week, or I think it was on Wednesday, he released a statement that they are taking Zuma to court, President Zuma to court for Nkandla.
For legal... No, he said that...
they are attaching
Nkandla. They're not attaching Nkandla for legal fees.
Yeah, they borrowed him money. What legal fees? Why is the EFF a law firm? What legal fees is Julia talking about? They borrowed him money. When Chi was nice, you borrow Zuma money. When he can't pay back because he's unemployed, sitting at home, an old man, you want to go to court and say you borrowed money. I hope they had it registered. I hope they signed a deal that I'm borrowing you this money, because without that registered to say, when will you pay me back? How are they going to claim it back? And why is it coming out now when they are angry and bitter? So, like I said.
But that's when things come out, when we're angry and bitter. That's the nature of things coming out.
You imagine, what are you going to say to your children or your followers or your members that you took money when there are people in the EFF who are poor? EFF is said to be representing the poor of the poorest, unemployed youth, graduates who don't have jobs, and you go and you borrow an octogenarian money for legal fees or to form MKP, so the EFF may have funded the formation of the MKP. What does it say to your members who are poor, who are graduates and sitting at home, and they don't have jobs? You could have used that money to create, a job, stimulate the economy, or do something. You borrow it to a non-member, somebody that years back you were telling people how horrible and bad he is.
In fact, Floyd himself, who's now at the MKP, was actually one of the loudest.
And you know what I always say? Never trust a politician. Never ever trust a politician. I don't trust any politician, even those who are my family or my friends. I don't trust them because they say something today, tomorrow it's absolutely a different thing.
Sure. Pala at the Concord. What are your thoughts?
With EFF.
What are your views? Yes.
Look, I listened to that case, and Fresh, we spoke about this before. After even listening to those judges, first of all, I think, and this again my personal view and opinion, I think the judges in South Africa, in particular the Concord, they get too much into the work of advocates or lawyers. I've seen judges asking questions or entering a legal field that they were not a neutral middle person. It looks like they were the opposite. As in almost like they've taken a position. They've taken a position. And I've seen, and on both sides. I've seen, actually, I can already see the Concord judges. I can see who's on whose side and who's on whose side. It's so glaring because I've watched that over 2 days. It was too long. So I watched during the day, I got tired and I stopped. Then I watched again late at night after a day. But after having heard the debates and the discussion at the Concord, I think we have done as a nation an injustice to ourselves, because we had 3 senior judges and retired judges who presided over this, or who conducted the investigation, that and issued a report which was unanimously very clear. Legal, I'm talking about law. Then we take that legal report, we entrust it to politicians to just vote. All they needed to do is to vote. And the ANC had the majority in parliament at that moment. And they voted to say, we are not going to enforce and implement this legal report from the judges that were appointed by parliament. Now it is exposing the loopholes in our system by going to the Concord. The judgment is not, the decision is not yet out. But if I look at the facts and the body language, you must always look at the people when they talk. Yes, sir. The facts and the body language, I think the Concord is going to rule in favor of the EFF. And what is the other party? I think it's ATM.
Yes.
I think it's
ATM, yeah.
Yeah, the Zungula party. Yes. I think the Concord is going to rule in their favor to say the what do you call it, the Parliament or the National Assembly was wrong in their decision, and that thing, it warrants prosecution or investigation. Remember, they didn't say President Ramaphosa is guilty. Sure. They said there's prima facie.
But just saying it was shut down
the you know, basic things, right? Even if SARS, people are saying SARS, South African, what do you call it, Reserve Bank, who was the other one, the public protector, all of them have said there's nothing wrong in that. Again, you can see where the arm, one arm of the state is controlling the other arms of the state. The abuse of, you know, Section or Chapter 9 institutions. I mean, basic. You know, one judge there forgot his name. He asked a basic question: how can it be right that 500 or what 5 point whatever thousands or $540,000 foreign currency enters the country? It's in a sofa. It's not banked for 2 months until it's stolen. And he asked a very pertinent question. And the president, who is a victim, who has been robbed, goes and instructs his security advisor, Presidential Protection Unit, to investigate this thing. To the date until Arthur Fraser came in and after, there was no case of theft opened. You know, only after Arthur Fraser made noise about this whole thing, then the president and his lieutenant started running around. How can that be right? How can there be nothing wrong in that? How do you keep money in a mattress or sofa, whatever? Some people say mattress, some say sofa, whatever. How can that be right? A foreign currency that nobody has declared. How do you transact on Christmas Day? How do you do that? In South Africa, it's a public holiday with foreign currency. These are basic questions. If this is a test for me.
So basically, he's saying make it make sense.
Yes. Yeah. Make it make sense. How is it possible? Is it legal? Is it allowed?
Yeah.
You understand? And you, as somebody goes and buy buffaloes, you don't bank the money, you don't deliver the buffaloes. And they try to come with an excuse that COVID-19 happened. But no, the robbery was in the 20-something of February the following year, which was 2 months after. And when did the COVID lockdown happen? A month after. So there was nothing that was stopping that transaction to be legalized.
If at all there was a transaction.
Well, there was a transaction because there was money.
Yeah,
there was money found.
No, but
you mean that?
If at all there were even buffaloes.
Well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. That you know, there were that 1-page receipt that was given. But there's another question that came in the
But is there evidence that receipt is from
legit?
From the date that it states?
No, there's no, and it's not even a proper receipt. Also, it was not even issued by the business manager. It was issued by the lodge. A lodge. You are selling buffaloes. It's a farm there. You are farming buffaloes, but your receipt is issued by a lodge. How? Those kind of things. For me, this is the test of our constitutional court.
Sure.
In this case, if the constitutional court does not rule, and this is Botsang's view, in favor of ATM and EFF, I'll give up on the Concord. Trust me. This is for me, because these are basic things that are happening. Fresh, if the police come and search your house now and they find $50,000 only,
there'll be hell to pay.
You will have to explain everything about that money. And the first question is it legal or illegal for you to keep that money in the house?
Do the Reserve Bank know that this money came into the country?
Yes. Or you understand? Did you declare it to the taxes and all those things? Legal technicalities are not going to make basic fundamental rules of the country.
Absolutely.
But let's wait and see.
Yes.
I don't know. Do you know when is the judgment coming out?
Not sure.
I wish it comes out after this episode has been aired, because our viewers and friends will grill us to say, but this thing came out. How come you guys didn't talk about it? But where we are now, we don't have that.
Absolutely. Let's go across the border to Namibia.
Yes.
The big question is, will SWAPO, the Southwest African People's Organization, stay in power? They've been governing Namibia since 1990.
That's 34 years now.
They saw a dip in the 2019 election, and there's challenges, as with most African countries, youth unemployment, amongst other things, corruption, maladministration, etc. And the chickens came home to roost in South Africa, in Botswana, in Mauritius, Mozambique. Mozambique are fighting it, although there have been discussions this week in Mozambique.
Yes.
Which might smell like a GNU if things
compromise. Anything that will bring peace in Mozambique, I'll support it.
Will SWAPO survive?
Fresh, look, I think in this instance, they'll be one of the lucky old former liberation movement and political parties to survive. I'll tell you why. Not because the people of Namibia, they don't want it anymore, but I think they will survive because the opposition is weak.
In fact, one of the reasons the Botswana Democratic Party, I think, survived the last two elections,
yes,
was not necessarily because of their strength,
no,
but because opposition were not focused.
Exactly. And look what happened actually in Botswana. A lot of people probably don't know that the umbrella party
for democratic change.
For democratic change, it's actually 2 or 3 political parties that came together.
Yes, yeah.
It's 3 political parties. So it shows how unity works and it can take the country forward. In Namibia, they don't have that kind of a situation. But if you look, you mentioned 2019. I think in 2019, it was their lowest margin. I think in 2014, they had almost 82-83% of the SWAPO, of the electorate. Look, from 82-83% in 2019, that's with the ANC, although the margin is bigger in Namibia. In 2019, they had something like 56%. I don't think they will drop below. It may just be 50-51%, and that one that you cook for that. But it's because the opposition is divided and is very weak. Namibia has a population of about 3 million people. 1.4 million are eligible to vote. But there were also challenges. There were people who were on voting queues for 20 hours fresh. The voting opens at 6 a.m. and closes at 9 p.m.
Sure.
People were saying they were on the queue from 5 a.m. Somebody said they voted only after 8. And to go in there and vote, it will take 3 minutes. But you waited for 13 hours, 14 hours. I honestly think with a population of 3 million and 1.4 million voters, Namibia is an advanced country. Almost everything is the same as South Africa. I think that there was a deliberate intent to discourage people to go and vote. That's my view.
Also frustrate them so
they must walk away.
Okay.
Especially youth. They're impatient, or business people. They're not going to
And there's always a party to go to, Pella. You're wasting our time.
You're wasting our time. When I was on a queue voting our last elections for 4 hours, and I was just determined that I want to vote, being a normal non-voter.
Yes.
For 4 hours, and I was hurtful. But now you keep a person for 20 hours, 15 hours, 18 hours. So there was a deliberate intent. And for small things, the scanners were not working. The laptops or the tablets that were supposed to check people, because they were using electronic system to check against the voters' roll, they will freeze and all those things. I mean, for 1.4 million potential voters, I think there was deliberate intention. But again, the candidate, the lady who is a deputy president in Namibia, she's also one of the old people who come from the
she's in her 70s, right?
Yeah, she's old. And again, youth may actually punish SWAPO for that. But if they went out and voted, because also I've seen her on TV when were they voting Wednesday? I've seen her on TV calling for people to please come. Yeah. Remember, they don't have a president since the passing of President Kaingbo.
Yeah.
And so the acting president of the country is not interested in standing. He said he's old and he's not interested in taking the position. So maybe we may see Namibia having the first female president if SWAPO wins. And if they don't win, unfortunately, their constitution, or no, fortunately for them, their constitution and the electoral system, first it allows them to form a minority government, but they also vote for the person, not the party, and then parliament elects the president. So they vote for the president of the country. Maybe the fact that she's female, it may work to their advantage. I've heard people saying she's a veteran, and she's known to be non-corruptible. She's been talking against corruption and all that. That may actually give SWAPO an upper hand. You want me to put my head on the block? I think SWAPO will survive with a very small margin. Okay. I think they will get small, 50-51%. And Namibia is also, it's known as the land of what do they call them? The land of the brave ones.
Sure.
I don't think it will end up like Mozambique. I think it will go peacefully, and SWAPO will have its last chance to stay in power.
Okay, so we can look forward to President Nandi Ndaitwah.
Yeah, Nandi Ndaitwah. That's the name I wanted, Ndaitwah. Yes, we can look forward. That's what I'm predicting is going to happen.
Absolutely. One of the big stories from last week, because this dropped after we had recorded our episode, the ICC's warrant for Netanyahu and for Gallant.
I think Gallant is the Minister of Defense.
He was.
He's the one he sacked 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Plus, obviously, then the Hamas leader also.
Yes. Look, Fresh.
And in fact, and this week, obviously, the Israelis have appealed against the ICC. I'm even told that they've been lobbying France
on the side
to say, come on, guys, do something.
You always say nothing will happen.
And Ireland have said, listen, we will abide.
We'll abide.
If he comes here, we'll hand him in.
We know he won't go. You know what I said to people when that came out over the past week? I said, why would Netanyahu, who is one of the most hated people on earth, he's been seen as the modern day Hitler, why would he travel to countries that he normally doesn't travel?
He doesn't travel anyway.
He doesn't, except to his handlers, the US. And I said, why would he anyway travel to any other country? So this ICC, what do you call it, a decision or warrant of arrest and all that, it's good for paperwork and procedure. It's okay that anybody who can lay his hands on Netanyahu, they must ask them. The US is not a signatory to the ICC.
Sure.
He travels only to the US, and sometimes when there's meetings with Saudi Arabia and so forth. And I was saying, I think he is more scared of being assassinated than being arrested. You know, for me, it doesn't make much of a difference. But yesterday, actually, on Thursday, actually, they've broken the truce. They've not broken. They've reached a truce with Biden. Had them to talk with Hamas leaders. They finally spoke. Very late on Thursday, and he has said they are now stopping the attacks. And it was a very last minute thing. However, you know, being Netanyahu himself, he went on to say, but if we are attacked, we'll defend Israel. But Biden, who is pushing for a war in Ukraine, on the other hand, he has managed to say to Netanyahu, can you stop bombing them and killing them now? And he has accepted very late on Thursday. He has accepted.
There was also a ceasefire with Hezbollah.
Yes. And he said he will never speak to them. But I think he's realizing that the net is closing up on him because the incoming president of the US is not buying that nonsense of spending money for somebody who's busy killing women and children and defenseless people.
In fact, even regarding, for instance, Biden giving Ukraine go-ahead to use long-range missiles into Russia.
Big mistake, eh?
No, even Trump's son, Junior, was busy on social media talking about how Biden is trying to start World War III before we even come in. What is this?
Yeah, but
and that all that we have proposed or said we're going to do will have to be off the table for now. Because Biden is leaving a mess for us.
Look, we spoke about it last week on how Biden has gone mad, and I've said the US has...
No, he hasn't gone mad. He is mad. Nothing has changed. He's been very consistently mad. Or senile, one of the two.
Yeah. But look, I don't think that the peace agreement in Israel with Hezbollah and with whoever, it's okay, it's good. And I've always said, let President Donald Trump come in for peace sake.
Sure.
He's a better devil. The White House is better with him than anybody else. And I don't think... President Putin has an appetite to can release nukes.
Sure.
But you saw the warning shots. He released one of those.
No, he even spoke about how we've got hyper missiles?
They released one, but without nukes to show how far it will go, what it's capable of doing.
How far and fast.
Yeah. Look, who wants World War III with nukes fresh? Who wants that? Except a man who's about to die, Biden.
There's a newspaper in the UK that did an article about how if there is nuclear fallout, which are the countries that are safest to travel to? South Africa
is one of them because we are right there at the bottom. Yeah, I saw that about a month ago.
Yeah.
People were saying the safest place, one of the safest places to be on earth, if there's a nuclear war in South Africa. Please, we've got enough immigrants?
Already
Can
been-
they stay in their countries?
Already healthcare has been nuked.
Yeah, no.
We don't
We have
need
our
other
own
nukes
nuclear.
here.
We have Zambas. We have our struggling healthcare system. We've got the economy that's collapsing. Let those with nuclear on the north fight each other and leave the countries of the south to be in a safe space. But I look, I like military operations and all that.
Sure.
But I'm for peace. You know, if there can be peace, let peace prevail.
You know, we always talk about how Security Council, in the bigger scheme of things, is not a democratic
Body
setup.
of the UN, yeah.
That, yes, it's part of the UN, but as long as there's world prefects and favorites who are allowed to veto at will, it almost shows you that in the bigger scheme of things, we're at the mercy and whim
Of them.
of a handful of nations. I mean, the fact that Netanyahu can call Macron of France and say, can you please
Be
block?
on my side,
Can
yeah.
you block? In fact,
This
he said,
process.
He said, can you block this ICC
Yeah.
arrest warrant? Shows you that in the bigger scheme of things, they don't give a damn.
No.
That we run things and things will happen, whether there's an arrest warrant or not. We will do
Whether
as we
there are
please.
international laws or not, we'll get international laws.
The UN released a report a couple of months ago that illustrates why Israel have been wrong in their new occupations since the 60s.
Yeah.
But then to turn around and say, but it is non-binding. And the fact that this report comes out and life carries on.
And there's another report that says what Israel has been doing for the last 1 year. Is it 1 year now? Yeah, just over
It's a year and a month.
Yeah, it's actually genocide.
Yeah.
You understand? It's not a war, it's genocide.
Life,
It's wiping
life
people
carries
off.
on. Life carries
And there's
on.
a report by experts, legal people, humanitarian organizations,
Yeah.
and life carries on.
Grand, in the bigger scheme of things, the entire planet, we
Five.
almost like there's 6 nations having a party.
Are they 6? I thought they're even 5.
And sometimes we're invited, sometimes we're not.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're part of the party, sometimes we're not. And if we throw a bigger party, they can even tell us we don't like your party.
Yeah.
Or we don't like who's on your guest list.
Even your party is a better party than theirs.
But why would you invite such and such a person?
And by the way, guys, Fresh is not talking about political parties, talking about party to dance, to enjoy.
Exactly. That's what the planet feels like. That's what the world feels like.
And-
That there's
and-
a handful of nations, we run things, guys. If we don't like you, we can actually turn the tap off. And we can demand that other people turn their taps off.
Exactly.
But when we transgress, when we give a middle finger to international law, we must be allowed to carry on.
Exactly, and nobody must question us and our position.
It's
And
bold.
that's why, I've been, the people says it looks like Donald Trump is paying me something on the side. Guys, that was the best thing to have happened to the Americans.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he said this week in response to Biden's utterances regarding Ukraine? Actually, President Trump came out with a formal statement after the son was tweeting a lot.
Yeah.
He issued a video and said what Biden has asked for is not going to happen under his watch. He is not yet in the office, but it's not going to happen. And what I liked and what I took out of President Trump's statement was when he said the biggest enemy of the America is the Americans.
Sure.
He's talking about how the entire military generals, and he has actually just appointed 2 generals to can start the engagements in ending the war
Yes.
with Ukraine. You know, he says it's one of the first things he wants to do when he gets into the office. The money spending, the continued war that benefits other people and putting American people's lives in danger. You know, when you have a president who says, my people, our organizations like the CIA and whoever are actually the problem in the world. You know, it was very interesting to hear it from a Republican white president standing up and saying, and people have been saying Trump is racist, and standing up and saying, but we created these problems. We went and we started wars we were not supposed to. We lied to the world. The president-elect of America stands up and says, we lied to the world. We lied about Saddam Hussein. We lied about Gaddafi.
And got away with it.
And we got away with it, and we want to continue lying. We don't realize that we are creating more enemies. Yes, he went to the stand and says, yes, there are haters of America. Like China hates America. That's what President Trump say. But he explained why he's saying that. He says, because they are dumping their goods in America, because they are challenging our economy. That's why they hate America. Did you
And
hear?
that's why he's proposing tariffs.
You see what he's doing?
But he's even proposing tariffs against Mexico and Canada.
I'm shocked with Canada. With Mexico, I understand. With China, I understand. And also the percentage is putting.
What was it, 40?
No, 30 for
30.
Mexico and Canada. It's 30. For China, it's 10. Okay, that's economic one. But Trump is fighting economic wars. You remember what I said before the elections in the U.S.? Said Trump is a businessman.
Sure.
He's coming to satisfy the electorate. He promised them economic upliftment and changes. And he's doing exactly that. I don't understand why Canada Fresh. That's the part I must go and inform myself why Trump is being hard on Canada. I understand he says drugs and illicit goods, but where is Canada getting illicit goods from? I'm not informed that much about that. I must go and inform myself.
Because the American market is as big as it is,
Yes.
you need ways into the U.S. There are only so many borders you can use into the U.S. One of them is Canada.
Yeah, but do you think Canadians let that happen?
Where there's money and a will, there is a way.
I must really go, and when I hear that Canada, I'm like, okay, with Mexico, I understand drugs, immigration, illicit goods that comes from the Pacific and the what do you call it, Latin America, that place, what do they call where there's Peru, Mexico, and all that.
The Gulf.
No, the Gulf. It's there's a name they call it. It's not even Latin America. I forgot what they call that. I think it's the Pacific countries or something like that.
Okay.
From those countries, Peru, Venezuela, Mexico, and others, to the U.S., I understand because Mexico is actually the main border country that all these other countries are using it. And I've driven that border. We have done an inspection. I actually flew to Mexico, drove from Mexico into the U.S. twice when we were with the Border Management Authority.
Yeah.
It's scary. You know, when you see things in movies.
Yeah.
And then you go through that,
Yeah.
Whether we were carrying official or diplomatic passport, but what the Americans put you through, even if they were expecting us, that part I understand. But with Canada, I've been to that also, the main border between Canada and the U.S.
From Buffalo, New York, that border that...
Yes.
I've used that border.
Even the one on the north, because I've been to two of them.
Okay.
The one on the north, which is a trade border where trucks, there's no even stopping. It's machine operated. I thought things are well tightened there. Look, there'll always be loopholes in border management processes. There will be loopholes. But to punish the Canadians, I don't know why am I talking on their behalf. I'm just actually shocked that where will the goods be coming from, the Canada to the U.S.? Do you mean they're entering Canada by air or by sea?
Hence, I'm saying
that's the only thing I can think of.
If your market is in the U.S., by hook or crook,
you will do whatever it takes.
You will find a way to get them into the U.S.
30%.
And that is what is happening.
I thought the Canadians and the U.S. are good friends. I never thought it would go to this extent.
No, we're good friends, but you're allowing other people into a relationship. So I must manage it.
I must talk to my former friends and colleagues. I told you the South African Border Management Authority model.
Sure.
We copied the Canadian Border Agency system. They call it the Canadian Border and CBSA system. We call it's an exact copy. That was the best model we found. Actually, they are said to be having the best border management model in the world.
Sure.
The Canadians. Now, if somebody tells me that the border management of Canada is failing the U.S. while their model has been said to even be better than the Americans. Americans send their border officials to be trained
in Canada.
And now it makes me wonder if we actually advise the government correctly when we say the Canadian model is the best system. But Trump means business.
Absolutely. And we are out of time.
Okay.
We were supposed to also discuss the failure of spending a budget by certain departments. But
in the Gauteng. Yeah, no, we can do it next week.
We were supposed to also discuss why South Africa is buying gas from Qatar when there's also gas from Russia and we're part of the BRICS setup. but we don't have time.
Let's reserve that for next week, and because I still somebody said to me, but Russia is under sanction. I said no, there's a way out, but we can talk about it next week when we have time.
So let's find the way out next week on another episode of PoliTricks with Botsang. Where do we find you on social media? How do we contact you?
You can contact me by WhatsApp on 082-485-9100. And I think people got their bonuses. I see there's few book orders coming in. I want those bonuses. Yes.
So do you still have stock of the book?
I still have stock. I
Okay.
think there's still about less than 100 of the books because I printed 1,000 copies. And then on social media at Botsang M.
Okay.
And then botsangm@gmail.com.
Get yourself a copy of his book. It is compelling reading, and it might give you insights into the mind that is this man. So get the book. What's the book called?
Life with a Question Mark is the biography of Botsang Modimowame, but the book is called Life with a Question Mark.
Shout out to Rockets Media for allowing us to use the incredible studio. Go to rocketslife.tv if you'd like to use this incredible spot. If you're a DJ, you want to record a DJ set, the studio is perfect for that. If you need a studio audience, there's a whole theater set up at the back. Incredible studio. Shout out to Rockets Media. And we're done with another episode of Wow, What a Week, #PoliTricks. Shout out to Trevor and Pezulu Works. Shout out to the team at Rockets Media and to Kelezo, our executive producer. Till next week, have a wow week in spite of yourselves. We're out of here.